My name is Sant. I was 6 years old when I entered the camp. We were captured by the Japanese on the island of Sumatra. And that's where we had our first concentration camp. First of all, my mother was expecting the third child when we went in the camp. And that baby had children's problems. And they asked the guards at the front if a doctor could come in to help. But the guard said already in the beginning, he said, no, let him die. And it was one of the first children in our camp that has passed away. Yeah, we were transferred into a mountain camp. It was way in the mountains. That became one of our worst camps, but we started to see a lot of disease, dying from people and everything. From there, my brother and I were separated from my mother, and we had to go in a men's camp. And lo and behold, my dad was there. So that was a blessing in a way. So we had always one parent. He had suffered a lot because he was put in another camp, what they call a torture camp. Torture camp, that's where he was put in because he was a chemist and he knew how to blow bridges and things like that. And the Japanese wanted to know a little bit more about it, what he did as a secret soldier. So he was tortured before, and that left a mark on his life even after the concentration camp and in Holland, and he couldn't handle a family anymore. So he became schizophrenic and had to stay out of the family. The Japanese had a way of, how you call that, don't give one meal a day. If we could eat it, even pigs couldn't eat it sometimes. And when people get weaker, they get diseases. They get malaria, dysentery. I had it, and a lot of people have died from that, and cholera and things like that. So they worked on the weakness of your body, and so it's a starvation thing. In the beginning it wasn't too bad, but the third camp and the fourth camp that I was in, that's where the worst started to come out, and the diseases and the suffering what we did, and a lot of people passed away there. So that's what made the worst part. It is the physical part of your as your body had to suffer, and there was no education at all because there's nothing. They were not even allowed to teach the kids in the camps. So, well, you went along with it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's, whatever happened, you're getting along. But whatever came to you, you can do nothing about it. So you just have to take it as it is and see the dying from people all around you. And you had to accept it. There's nothing you can do about it. I think you can't carry hate along all the time. You have to let go of it. And, Well, if you think about it, how they had to give up the war with 2 bombs, and how many people had died innocently with those 2 cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, then you can say, hey, they had to suffer too, as well as we did, because of their own people. So it is something, you have to forgive. And all those people, 250,000 people, what I understand, passed away in the 2 bombs, had to die for us. And that was a Jewish family. They were bankers in Amsterdam and came before the war. And they were quite rich. And this lady that got the letter, she is the first one to found a job for me. Yeah, so I was helped right away by Jewish people. There was this an older preacher there. And I came once to him and asked if he knew a boarding house for me. He said, you know what, I got a room in my house. He said, you stay with me. I wasn't married yet. But then Marilyn, my wife, came over and he married us. And then, I don't know if you will believe this story, but one day he had Corrie ten Boom preaching in a church and said, John and Marilyn, I want you to come over to my house because you can have supper with her. And that's where we had supper with Corrie ten Boom. Because of our background of the concentration camps. That's something only God can do. Have my way of thinking of what Israel. It is a God-given privilege for people to know that they can support Israel, because Israel is the only place of the hope we have, what God has chosen for everybody. If they can't open their eyes and see that they can survive in a situation where they are, then I don't know. Well, I don't like to be pessimistic, but we are heading for bad times again. We have to be realistic about that. Very realistic. Whatever is going to happen to Israel is going to happen to us. That's what's going to happen to us. So, oh yes, we have to pray for Israel, definitely. The Jewish people, if you don't recognize they are God's people, then I don't know. They are the special people, and we can almost see what is happening in the world, and they are surviving so far. Unbelievable how they are surviving in a situation where they are praised in the world, and it is phenomenal. But that you can see God's hand on them, and they are the people God has chosen, and we better believe it and see it. Jesus came onto earth not for nothing. He knew that's our only hope, and he has chosen the Jewish people, and we can see what he's done for the Jewish people and what they are doing also in the world. Jesus is our only answer, what we have, the only answer. So, and by acceptance of Jesus, we are set free. We are never alone anymore by accepting Jesus. He's always there, and we are never alone.